I will call the meeting to order. I'm Marjorie Winters. We have Jason Levy, we have Charlie Haldeman, we have Don Eaton, and we have Joe Campbell-Leaders joining us, and Tom Hazel as staff. So new business, 21-24, 660 Hot Meadow Street, Town of Simsbury applicant, Dino Nobel owner, replacement and installation of a new sewer line. So.
Okay, so we don't have the WPCA here tonight, so I will give a brief overview, and they'll do the full show at the next meeting. Basically, this is associated with what you see going on along Hot Meadow Street, with all the construction on the underneath the sidewalks and up Woodland Street. There is a sewer line that crosses Hot Meadow and goes through Dinah Nobel's property. And the issue there is that they want to get that off of Dinah Nobel's property, like their usable space, and put it to the side so that they have better access and better use. So there's going to be some realignment. And what that means is that they're going to have to come down to the east, go under the old railroad tracks that used to service EBAD and Dinah Nobel, and then reconnect after they go under the railroad tracks. There are wetlands just before the railroad tracks. In their proposal, they're showing to use jack pits to go under the railroad and the little stream that's there. So that'll lessen the amount of impact to any kind of flowing water. But the issue with Dinah Nobel, which makes this kind of a unique project in that there's wetlands involved, but this area is heavily disturbed because of the fact in the past that they've had to clean up heavy amounts of pollution on site. And due to that removal of polluted soils, any activities that happen on the property, everything that is excavated has to be put back on the property where it was excavated. So basically, they're going to come in, trench a pipe, and put everything right back where it was, and keep moving along. Do the jack pits to lateral, pull the pipe laterally underneath the railroad tracks in the most wet area. And so with that, they'll be able to get a new sewer line in, and then also get it off of Dinah Nobel's property so that they don't have to ask permission to access their infrastructure due to the security issues at Dinah Nobel. So with that, that's the main reason for it. It's just sort of an adjustment in the line. I will make sure that Tony shows up at the next one with about how long it's going to be from point to point. Are there any particular questions that I might be able to answer? Because I've had some overview.
Just because if it's going under a stream, it's technically disturbing the wetlands. Do we need a public hearing on that? Or?
You don't need to. I don't think, considering the pollution of the site, you could bear in mind, is it a significant impact?
Yeah.
You could bear in mind if you think there's need for public interest, and then if there was a petition, which we didn't get. Okay. And with that, I mean, this is still on Dinah Nobel's property. So there's no way, A, you can't do a site visit, and B, the public's not allowed anywhere near there, unless you're some 3-star general or something. And so they're going to just go in, lay this in, recover it, and let it go back to what it was, also because of the pollution. So,
okay.
Just because it's in the wetlands, no, I don't think the disturbance triggers any need for mitigation, considering the polluted site that it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about something it's just existing and it's wet. I don't think it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to disturb as little as possible due to the history, but it should be clean.
Yeah. No, I wanted to make sure we didn't have anything because it's clearly going to disturb some.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As far as the pollution, it won't get reactivated by the disturbance. When it's oxygenated.
The site is supposed to be fully remediated.
Okay.
They have a sign-off certificate on that, but it was ordered that any material disturbed on that site stays on that site. So they just plan to reuse it right there to fill the trench. Even if it rises up and makes a little hump, it'll settle over time. And as we all know, sewers follow streams because streams flow downriver because it's all a gravity fed system. So
Yeah.
with sewer infrastructure, you're always going to have these interactions with wetlands and streams.
Yeah. Right. And do we know the size of the trench and
The sewer pipe, I believe, is no larger than a 12-inch, from what I've been seeing. We can get that at the next meeting, but with a 12-inch, you're probably talking probably a 3-foot wide trench, and they'll have to go as deep as they have to go in order to get the pitch to the pipe from manhole to manhole. But that area also, if you think about it, I don't know how far down the pipe is in the ground, but the topography says that it's already higher up on Hop Meadow going down into the back there. So they shouldn't have to go. They'll just have to go as deep as the pipe is already buried.
we'll have a full presentation at the next meeting.
I will make certain of that.
Okay. So we don't need any action at this point.
No, all we have to do is, even if you don't act, it's automatically received. But if you want to make a motion to receive it, you
All
certainly
right,
can.
would anyone care to make a motion to
Motion,
receive?
we receive the application.
All right. Do we have a
I'll
second?
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Joe. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So moving on to old business, 21-23 or 115 and 130 Castor Ridge Crossing, Crown Properties Holdings LLC applicant, Dorset Crossing LLC owner, residential development of sublot B and J. So, David, are you going to make the presentation tonight or
Just very briefly,
continuation? Yeah.
yes. Good evening. I'm Dave Ziyax with F.A. Hesketh Associates. We're located next door over in East Granby. And we made a full presentation at the last meeting. I'll just share the screen very quickly. As we talked about, looking at the aerial, we're up here at the last two lots of Dorset Crossing, which is a planned area development at PAD, and previous development that the commission's aware of, where we have the apartment complex, and then the down there, Hot Meadow Street. Mr. Giorgio built the first of the medical buildings in there and is intending to fill out the development down at that end. But the focus of this application is the last two lots, and in the master plan that was approved by the zoning commission that called for residential development on both lots D and G. So that's what we're proposing. I went through comments and questions from the last meeting, and I think the only outstanding thing we had was there was a recommendation from Madam Chairwoman to consider modifying the landscaping plan to introduce some more native plants from some of the ornamental plants that we had in there. And our landscape architect took a look at that and actually revised the design a bit, which is, I'm showing you here a revised sheet LS3, which is in the package. And all of the plant types that are highlighted here in yellow have been changed from, the more modern ornamental type, what I call ornamental type plantings, to more native plantings at the recommendation of the chairwoman. And those will be included in the final set and the set that's presented to the zoning commission for site plan approval, which would be the next step for us. And other than that, I don't think there were any other outstanding questions or things that needed to be revised in the plan set. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
And I appreciate the changes that have been made. So,
Mhm.
do the commissioners have any questions?
I'm good.
No.
All right, no, and no. All right, well, if that's the case, then I know we discussed it at the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve this project? Are there any? All right, Jason, do you want to make the motion?
Yes. Do I got to go through the whole three-part
Yeah,
thing?
all
Yep.
three.
A motion that we find that this is a regulated activity as there's disturbance in the upland review area.
I'll second.
Second from Joe. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye.
I'll motion that we find that this is not a significant activity as there's no disturbance in the wetlands and no direct impact.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Isn't it because it
Tom?
was just all like already disturbed that it's not a significant activity?
That would be the level of what's going on in the upland review area. I mean, we're clipping some parking in the corner of the buildings. Significant activities, regulated activities are easy. Significant activities are a little more judgmental, but there's no significant impact directly to the wetlands. It's an upland review area. Is that going to be?
Yeah, I just thought it was all a gravel
it's
pit,
been
everything's all
disturbed.
mixed up.
It's
Yeah,
been
it's already
disturbed a whole bunch.
disturbed.
It's already been disturbed, and so
Right.
therefore it's not a
That's what I mean,
significant
yeah.
activity.
Yeah, and also
Oh.
we're looking at the significance to the impact of the wetlands when we talk about a significant activity.
All right, so I'll motion that it is not a significant activity as the area is already disturbed and any further disturbances in the upland review area not impacting the wetland directly.
I'll second.
And any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll motion that we approve the application subject to the standard conditions and any special conditions in the staff report.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for making the changes to the planting selection. Really appreciate that.
Thanks very much, folks, and
Thank you.
have a happy holidays coming
You
up.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
as
Thank
well.
you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, on to general commission business, minutes from November 16th and December 17th. Does anyone have any alterations to 16?
I want to see who catches my Secret Santa gift I put in one of them.
Hey, when there's a quiz.
Is this like the college professor? He like did directions to like a bunch of cash in the syllabus.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was a mistake on my part. I just noticed it and fixed it already. I just wonder because I left it that with the mistake in the Dropbox. It's pretty obvious.
Now we're feeling all embarrassed.
I'm
Was
a
it,
bad
hint,
proofreader.
was it in the November 16th or was it in the December 7th?
it's not a major thing, so don't fret about it. You guys can work your way through, and I'll point it out before
All
we
right.
close out.
Okay. So what was the error?
The error was in the December meetings. The regular meeting date was the November date, not the December date, because I cribbed it.
Oh, yeah.
I usually work off the last sheet of minutes,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
one thing I forgot to change. But it's been
Yep.
changed. It's been changed on the postings. So.
All right. So shall we approve them together? Does anyone have any changes to December 7th other than the date? No. All right. So do I have a motion to approve both meetings?
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from the November and December meetings.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tony. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Agent actions.
I've actually been quiet on that front. Haven't had anything since November, really, or that 3 of the Mews that we had at the last one, which was a holdover from November. So, yeah, I have,
In the winter.
Yeah, not a lot of activity other than the big boys with the machines that can push the stuff around. So I expect it to be pretty slow otherwise.
Yeah.
All right. And correspondence.
Haven't heard from any outside entities as far as information that would pertain to the Wetlands Commission.
Okay.
There hasn't been much movement. Other than that, no.
And any of the commissioners have anything they want to?
I do.
Yeah.
It was brought actually just today. A friend brought a concern. I don't know if it's directly in our wheelhouse again. With the zoning changes that the town may or may not opt out of, their concern was with ADUs and septic sizes. I don't know if we can discuss, look at.
That's going to be driven by the health department, and they size your system on the number of bedrooms. So if you are if you don't have a city sewer line and you have a house with 8 bedrooms, you're going to have a huge septic system.
Right.
If you have a house with 4 bedrooms, I think the typical 1,500 gallon residential goes up to 4 bedrooms on most situations.
Okay.
It is the person who's in the driver's seat of that is the health director.
Okay.
We don't have a say in that. We respect the fact that sewage waste disposal is a matter of fact, and the way that sewage treatment systems for residential are designed, they should be fine with the effluent to the groundwater table
Okay.
as far as it's designed.
Very good. It just came up in conversation, and I was like, it's a good point. I'll ask.
No, I actually used to spend a lot of time with the health department in Windsor just to wrap my head around sewage system designs, just from a wetland standpoint, because people have them in their backyard, but they have a septic tank, and you
Yeah.
wonder with the fluctuations in the water table how it works. So
Yeah.
it's a good
Well,
question.
I know oversizing them can become or I shouldn't say oversizing them. Having an undersized one can become an issue. I know that's a big problem on Candlewood and probably most other lakes.
Yeah,
Is people put up these McMansions, with a septic system that was designed for a summer cottage, and whoever's in charge in those areas is not policing it, and there's a ton of leaching.
yeah. Bolton Lake was the same way where I live. They used to put the dye in people's tanks, and you'd see it out in the lake the next day when they came back.
Yeah.
And that's why they had the federal mandate was that whole entire lake had to hook up because of the pollution problem. But yeah, it is a question. ADUs and the conversions do trigger a review by the Farmington Valley Health District.
Okay.
So they would have to go get a B100, which would review it and make sure if they're on a 4-bedroom house and they add a detached ADU and make a 5th bedroom, it's going to have to be replaced if it's undersized. Yep.
All right. I'm good with that. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you, Jason. All right, how about conservation business? The open space items?
Yeah, I added those documents. I hope everybody was able to view them. Sorry I didn't have them up at the last meeting.
Yeah, no, they're pretty detailed. There's a lot of interesting
Yeah.
information in here. And I guess I was wondering. Well, I was reading them. There's a lot in here. There's a lot. There's a lot of implications from this. So I think it's the second one that I was kind of interested in, which is item number 11, the natural area stewardship policy.
Mm-hmm.
So how? And I see that the original one was in November of 2020. How is this policy representing like a change from like the pre-2020 era? I was trying to figure out what, obviously they're changing because of some of the stuff that's going on with the purchase up at
Meadowwood.
at Meadowwood. But is there something else going on behind here that created the need for this document in 2020? Or I'm trying to think of the backstory behind this.
I think the backstory was that there wasn't much guidance.
Right.
So it was decided that the town needed a policy. We had an open space committee, but it didn't really have a policy as to what were the criteria for going for open space. And so, it may be a little late because there's not that much open space available to purchase. So but
this is actually about the stewardship policy,
oh,
right?
stewardship, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I guess one of the questions I have is, how is this, it's been in practice now for a year or so, year and a half maybe. How is this working out? I mean, we have a policy. Are we seeing an impact from it? Or
We've
is
certainly
it-
I think we just basically scratched the ground on that. This took a lot of time to draft and get through all the hurdles of the town attorneys and the board of selectmen and stuff. So we really haven't gotten a lot of on the ground boot action quite yet. But what the town noticed was with our Meadowwood acquisition, it became very clear that we have a lot of open space that we just don't do anything with.
Right,
And
right.
we're unaware of, and it becomes a liability rather than an asset. So that was one of the triggering on these documents was try to get something in place that we could rely on and reference when it comes to an acquisition. Like, we need to go through these criterias, we need to go through these policies in order to the fact that we keep on top of it and don't let it go to waste.
And one of the things is that the Open Space Committee is trying to work at the stewardship for the pieces that we do have. And I know one of the things that I'm hoping that will come up during the next working group sessions is policies for mowing of the meadows that we do have. We've addressed the farmland, and that part's gone through.
I'm still just mopping up the RFP, but we're
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
pretty good.
So we've got a policy for farmland. We're now working on meadows. So we're working way through the different kinds of property that the town has and trying to come up with something on paper that would be guidance documents.
Right. I guess what I was thinking is, and so I understand that purpose and it makes sense to me. But soon you're going to be transitioning into an application side. For instance, item C on this one, where it says maintaining ecological integrity. We know we have a lot of invasive species that are all over the place.
Yeah.
And the statement here says, if invasive species are identified and removed, a practitioner familiar with natural area stewardship should be consulted. It seems to me like that is a #1 item that we should be thinking about through Simsbury. I'm just wondering how we're going to implement this.
I wonder. I agree with you. I agree with you too. We just had the open space and park and recreation and open space. And now what was that plan that what we had with the consulting group that came in?
The master plan. The master
Yeah, the
plan
master
for that.
plan.
Yeah.
And we were hoping that, with the open space that we would get, go and tackle this, this, and this, and this. We've got very vague guidelines. It was mostly about parks and rec. So, the town will have to address that, and I'm not quite sure how that will.
And I think the language that got thrown in there, and I know that it's very wordy, what you just read, it has, you got to realize there's a big committee, there's a lot of opinions on it, but I think what the general statute is, we know what some invasives are, some things maybe we might need to be consulted on a larger project or something like that in order to tackle it the right way. And there's going to be times when there's going to be some outside funding that will dictate that we need professional opinions and need assessments and stuff like that. In general, the DPW is going to go down, or Parks and Rec is going to go down on a maintenance issue. And they know well enough what the invasives are. So some minor management, I think that language really is saying when we get into a larger project, we want to make sure we're not just spinning our tires. If we need outside information and outside guidance, we're going to bring that in, and it's going to be worthwhile to the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suspect it takes a while to get the policies in place. There's a lot of distilling of ideas. I suspect it will be harder to put in the framework for execution. And I think where we come into play is how do we support that through our committee work.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested in that after I was reading these pieces, like how do we impact that?
Yeah, it's one thing to draft a document. You got to implement it in order to actually make it worth its time.
Right.
And I know Joe's been very active with the Pollinator Pathways. The town has adopted that this is going to be a Pollinator Pathway town. I know Joe and I and Nancy Brandon, Joe's wife, and Orlando and Brian
Johnson.
We're going to be going out and looking at, for instance, a section of the farms, just looking at various parts of town to see where these things can be implemented. Starting, but slowly.
Yeah.
But the town staff is starting to look also at town properties, see how they can get native plants in on some of the town properties. It has to also get into the budget.
Yeah, that's why we're going to end up with a lot of low-hanging fruit to begin with.
Yeah.
And then as we get the budget or some outside funding,
And
try to
retraining.
identify big ones.
And retraining of for practices and things like that. So there's a lot to be done ahead.
Right. I mean, in general, I think the issue always is how do you provide the information back to the homeowner? Through things like, they come for approvals here. We tell them to think about native species, think about their pool filters, think about their pollinator pathways. And if we're then, telling people, well, this is the right way to get rid of the Japanese knotweed on your property, et cetera, you're not going to be waiting for the town to come up with money when they aren't going to have any for a long time due to the schools and everything else that's going on. And I think that this is really part of the execution, which is where we need different committees. If the open space committee is trying to move from policy to execution, then we should be listening to that and trying to figure out how to broadcast that.
I think so. And I think the Conservation Commission has that responsibility for some of the education. I know the projects that the town is thinking about doing, there's going to be an educational component to it. But this is where I think our website really comes into play.
And then I think on some of our bigger projects like that, the one on Owens Brook, I mean, if that's being blasted out like this is an emergency repair, but you're also getting invasives management area in here, and it'll be maintained to control invasives, that would be a nice narrative to tag on to these things.
And I think, we can get the story up online, and also signage at the site will be helpful. And I know these were some of the things we were talking with the town staff about for visible sites in town, trying to figure out how to get that message out to the public.
Even some of those temporary yard signs that says invasive species management project, if they're going down and mowing an area and trying to knock it down. And then people may ask questions. What does that mean? And that might...
But that's if we and how our website.
I haven't had much time to spend on that.
No, that's so.
Unfortunately, it's not going to get any better with Mike leaving. It's not going to get any better.
No. But that is one of the main. I mean, that and these links to other sites where about the problems with invasives. If we get you the links to the sites, could they go up? Yeah,
I could do that. And let me. I'm making some notes to try to find some time to work on the website.
Okay. Do we have a website manager?
No, it's either me or me.
Oh,
I have no access to interns.
No.
Well,
maybe this summer.
Could you clone yourself?
My wife and my kids would love that.
Do you ever get summer interns?
Never. Not in my 2 years. Well, I went right in under COVID. We had one. We stole an intern from somebody when I started because they were they were finishing up some rewrite of the regulations or something. And so they stole an intern from another department and used.
Well, is this the time of year to sort of?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know how that process starts and where it gets budgeted.
I'm just spitballing an idea, but is there any student government thing at the high school that maybe we could?
Well, where I'm going to run into a major hurdle is IT is going to go, no one's touching anything but you because you got the login. We won't let it. And it's
even
just,
if they design it.
They are so afraid of corrupting the system, which I could understand.
Yeah, I was thinking if someone else designed it, or at least gave them the links and told them put this up.
I would have to talk to IT more. I mean, I'm going to go in there and try to doll this thing up, and I'll talk to IT a little bit, but I will try to parse out time for this. Maybe late on Mondays when things slow down, I'll do it on Monday nights.
Yeah, I don't mean to add anymore, but
it's part of the job. But I just honestly, it's been a busy couple of years, and being down a director is not going to make it that much better. And I don't foresee a replacement anytime soon.
But if the commissioners find interesting websites, because I know there's a lot of work done by some other.
Send me stuff.
Even if we just put up links, say interesting, I mean,
it's something to start, but I don't want to make it look like a a posting forum about carburetors. They get just
Right.
line after line after line after line after
No.
line. No, I would hope to be able to format it a little bit better, but
But even just
I'll
helpful
try.
links for homeowners, how to remove
Yeah.
invasives.
Yeah,
know,
I
pipes in native
I
plants.
understand IT. When I was in Windsor, they changed over to actually it was a shareware that they made their whole website out of, and it was so easy. You could just plug and play everything.
Yeah.
But there was a gate at a certain point, so you
Yeah.
couldn't mess with too much, and that protected their system. But here we're very locked in.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to Brett, and maybe
Okay.
he'll give me some ideas to play around with. And he after the holidays, after they get all the new hardware out there to everybody, hopefully he'll have a little slowdown.
Okay.
So,
I do think, however, Tom, this is a problem that will have to be resolved, because if what you're talking about is how we move from policy to execution and get information out there, then clearly having, the web function as a main piece, and we can't expect you to be doing it in the evenings.
yeah.
So
I
the
know.
question IT is, how are we going to do it given the IT system?
Yeah.
We managed to do it at Pratt. So if we can do it at Pratt, we can probably do it, you can probably do it.
You got you got two guys in IT dealing with everybody in town.
Hey, I think we have two guys at IT at Pratt too. And
hey.
But we have a bunch of interns, and usually stuff gets done
that
with
helps. Yeah.
So something go forward. I'd be totally with you, Charlie, because how we get the information out other than keep it, in this little.
Right.
little-
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Any other conservation business? Any insights about what the open space is doing? All right. Well, if there's nothing more, I'd like a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.